work? I'm a stutterer. Had today's disability laws existed when I began work, I wonder, would I have overcome my stuttering problem? Or maybe I would have just given up, collected a government check. So I'm glad today's disability laws didn't exist then, because without them I struggled, and I'm here. Things are good. But the laws do exist now, and coincidentally, more Americans say they are disabled. Ted DeHaven from the Cato Institute studies this, and you found what?
Well, a couple of years ago, I'm at Walmart, and I overhear a conversation between two women, and I hear the one woman say to the other, I could take the pay cut, or I could just go for disability. And it really struck me, and as an analyst who delves into various government programs, I thought she spoke of that as if it was just an either or. So I went home and looked at it, and here the numbers have exploded. And when you start looking at the program, we're not more disabled in this country. We're not a blue-collar economy anymore, and we have all this assistance.
Yeah, more people are working at home. There's less manual labor.
Exactly. So how could we be spending all this more money for disability, have all these people applying for disability?
And when you say all these people applying, you have the Cato chart that shows the money spent the last 50 years. People say, oh, when the economy gets better, then it goes down, but it barely went down in the 80s when the economy improved a bit. It basically has just gone steadily up.
You've had a liberalization in eligibility going back to the 1980s that's really showing up now. But you have parents, poor parents, trying to get their kids on psychotropic medications in the hopes that they'll better increase their odds of qualifying for a check that goes to dad and mom. And so you're putting kids on drugs.
Your neighbor gets it, you start to feel like a sucker if you don't.
Look at the message being sent to them. I'm disabled. They're becoming labeled. And so as they become adults, what's the first thing they're being taught? Don't work, and to think of myself as disadvantaged. Whether they are or they aren't.
And disabled used to mean you were paralyzed, perhaps. You had a severe injury. Now it means what? Depression, back pain,
John,
stress?
It's like any other government program. You start off with good intentions, and then it becomes something that it was never supposed to be. The original disability insurance program was supposed to benefit those ages 50 to 64 as basically a transition into regular retirement. Since the 1980s, you've seen a 300% increase in awards for what back pain, mental issues, what they call non-exertional restrictions. And so I'm going to my chiropractor tomorrow. I have a pinched nerve, I have compressed disc, and quite honestly, trying to take on the government's driven me nuts. I think there's a good chance I could qualify if I pressed it hard enough.
And it used to be that they were paralyzed. Today, most of the claims are things like anxiety, stress, back pain, nebulous diagnoses.
And it's very subjective.
One other reason more people collect disability handouts is that lawyers make big bucks promoting them.
If you're disabled and can't work, you need Social Security disability benefits. But don't try getting them on your own.
We help people get disability benefits.
It is important that you act now. Call 1-800-WIN-WIN-1.
My law firm's collected over $1/3 billion for injured people. Not billion.
$1/3 billion.
Yes. Sometimes when I'm at the gym and I notice program after program contains these commercials for these folks. They don't make a ton of money, especially these specialty law firms. But if you run enough
Binder and Binder made $88 million, according to the Wall Street Journal, in just 1 year.
About a decade ago, the government made it easier for non-lawyers to represent people in appealing a claim. So they hire a bunch of cheap non-lawyers and such, and they rush people through the system. They figure out the system. They collect little bits of money. It adds up if you get enough people on.
And you pay. Thank you, Ted. Coming up, a doctor composing rap music to try to fight victimhood.